Hi, everybody. It's Elaine, Real Talk with Elaine, and you're back on BMBS. Yes, the Bonnet series. Tonight, we are going to talk about, are you raising a GLP-1 kid? The reason why I'm asking this question is because, and let me stop. If you haven't subscribed, if you haven't liked, please do that right now. It's Real Talk with Elaine. For those of you who are new, I have a regular series that I do every week, and that one is the Audacity series, as well as I do a weekly check-in on my Mounjaro journey. I was type 2 diabetes, and I was placed on Mounjaro over a year ago. So far, lost up to 64 pounds in 1 year and still working hard on my journey. So thank you for joining me. I look forward to you staying with us and hanging out with us. So this series here is titled Black Mama Bonnet series. And let me just preface this by saying this is not just for any particular cultural group or anything. I have everybody that joins in on this series, and this is only episode 2. Episode 1 went so well, and I've been trying to get back to you guys this past week. Had a lot on my plate going on, literally on my plate going on this week. So I decided to hang up with you tonight and get this out. So it is Sunday, and it's May 18th, 2025. And I just want to know, are you raising a GLP-1 kid? You know, I remember when my daughter was about 5 or 6 years old, I started noticing that she was getting a little chubby. You know, she was just looking a little bit chunky, and I didn't understand what was going on because I was not a overweight kid. I was very slender, normal sized kid, very active. And I started noticing this in her, and I was like, what is going on? Why is she gaining so much weight? Didn't really pay attention to it, honestly, until I really saw that it was getting out of hand. She was extremely overweight. And my girlfriend told me, hey, let her come play basketball with my daughter. So I let her go with her daughter and her husband to start playing basketball for the little kids league or whatever. And then she started liking it. And the more she got involved, I started noticing she was losing weight. So I figured, okay, yeah, it's because of she didn't have any activity going on. She was just eating, going to school, coming home, going to church, coming home, whatever. And she wasn't doing any real physical activity. And for me, I just chalked it off as that. She did go through all of her life being pretty, lean because she played basketball all the way through college. But once she came home from college and she finished basketball, the weight came back. And I was like, what is going on? So I started watching some of her eating habits as she was sitting around, and I saw how she would just gulp food down and, hoard food. And she would go and buy food and from fast food places and different things like that. And I was like, oh my goodness. I said, what is going on? I just didn't understand it. And then I realized, I was like, yeah, she has some issues with her relationship with food. So how did this all start? For many of us, it started at the table when we were kids, right? Get some water real quick. I took my shot today and my mouth is the driest on shot day. I don't know if anyone else does that. But anyway, I started noticing, I said, this started out at the table when they were kids, because I was raised that I couldn't get up from the table unless I ate all of my food. Eat all your food on your plate. That was what I was told, right? And so, of course, some of the behaviors and that we were taught, we transfer those same behaviors or those same activities onto our children. And so I remember I used to have my children sitting at the table and they would not be able to get up until they finished all their food. And so what does that really promote in children? It really does not promote healthy relationships with food, because they lose their cues in terms of, when they're full, or when they're hungry. So those cues are kind of gone. And so research actually shows that it's important for kids to be able to develop normal eating behaviors. So not forcing them to eat all of their food, or, not taking food from them, will create those normal relationships with food overall. According to the CDC and Psychology Today, also raising entitled children, and that's something I wanted to talk about here, can contribute to obesity. So let me tell you 5 steps of raising how 5 things you do when you're raising an entitled child who could potentially have obesity issues later on in life. Number 1, unhealthy eating habits. Entitled children, they kind of expect to get whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, right? So that also pertains to food. If you are the kind of parent that riding home, your kid yells out to you, "I want McDonald's," and you pull over and do it, yep, that's what you're doing. And they feel entitled, because if you don't go there, they're probably going to scream, holler, and cry and make you feel bad, like they're starving. But that's just that entitled nature coming out. Number 2, these kids lack physical activity. And I just got finished telling you about my daughter, how she wasn't getting any physical activity. And yeah, she was kind of raised entitled, because whatever she wanted, I got it. And it didn't matter. It's like, okay, you want this? Yes, you can have this to eat. You can have that to eat, or whatever. So, but if kids are accustomed to not working out, not doing things, not having any activities, they may be less inclined to engage into physical activities once you start trying to push them into it. So I wanted to let you know that's why I shared that about my daughter, because, once I found an activity that she liked, it became something great, and she was willing to do it all the time. And she saw the benefits of it, because her body slimmed down and trimmed down as a result. The number 3, another reason when you're raising entitled children, that they can become obese, is they can pick up the emotional eating habits. When children are used to having immediate gratification, like the example that I gave you, that when they go, if you're riding by McDonald's and they yell out, "I want McDonald's," but say if you tell them no. So that child might feel like, I'm used to getting what I want when I want it. So they're not getting that immediate gratification, and therefore they, they get frustrated or whatever. And they may start eating food for more entertainment versus nourishment. Okay. Because now it's like, oh, whenever I get upset, I can just go and grab me what I want to eat. And it just becomes an emotional kind of eating situation. Number 4, poor self-regulation. Entitled children often struggle with self-control. This can also, of course, lead to overeating and the inability to recognize hunger and fullness cues, as I said before. So you don't want them just overeating because they don't have any kind of structure. So I know I've when I was growing up, I've been to a lot of my friends' homes. My home wasn't like this. I wasn't fortunate to have it. I wasn't an entitled child, unfortunately. But I went to other friends' homes, and like their whole kitchen counter, or, top of their refrigerator or pantries or whatever, was filled with food that they can just walk in and out freely and get. And I remember going in friends' homes, and we just go grab, the box of Twinkies and just sit at the table or whatever and eat a whole box of Twinkies. And it might have been like about 10, 12 Twinkies in those boxes, but that's what we used to do. And so that's because they had no regulation. They had no rules in their home. It was like whatever their parents just bought, they could just go and eat freely. And so sometimes just giving them that much freedom to be able to access food is also a huge issue. And then parental overindulgence. Parents who cater to every demand may unintentionally reinforce unhealthy behaviors such as excessive snacking and avoiding exercise. So we have to be careful about that, because our kids can sometimes run us. It was funny because I'll just even say this about my dog. Before, my dog was like eating when he wanted to eat, and I was mad because he didn't eat when I wanted him to eat. And I took him to the vet, and I was like, something's wrong with this dog. Like every other animal I've had, I put food down, they run to it and they eat. And I know I'm using this as a comparison, but our kids are not dogs, obviously. But my dog will be like, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. So I got to the vet, and I told her, and she was like, after she examined him and everything, he was a good weight and all that other stuff. And she was like, take his leash off. And I'm thinking, you already examined him, so why are you telling me to take his leash off? And she was like, no, take his leash off his neck. And I took his leash and his collar off his neck. And I'm thinking she could pick him back up and put him back on the table and just do something, feeling his neck or something more, whatever. So when I took the thing off his neck and she didn't put him on the table, she told me to put the collar around my neck. And she said, because he was leading me instead of me leading him. She was like, the dog is going to eat when he wants to. He's not going to starve himself to death. And absolutely, it was like a revelation. When I came home, I just stopped worrying about it. I put the food down. The dog began to eat when he wanted to. And when he didn't want to eat anymore, he stopped. So that's the natural cues that we should have and that our children should have in their nourishment process. It should not be us worrying our kids about eating or whatever. So that's how that goes. So what's some practical tips that we can do to help our kids so that we're not raising GLP-1 babies? Okay. So number one, make mealtime enjoyable. Create positive environments around your mealtime. One of the things, I work in the school system, and I notice that they do is sometimes they'll make the healthier choice foods brighter in our cafeterias. So they may, I don't know, they have to add like food coloring to certain things or whatever, but they try to make it brighter, or they may put them in particular styles of mold. MOLD mean like molding food in certain shapes or whatever. So they may have triangle, type of vegetables or something like that, or, cheese that come in different shapes or whatever. And it just makes it more healthier options for our kids when they're coming through the food line. Number two, offer a variety of foods. Introduce our kids to different flavors and textures. That's kind of what I was just saying just now in the food groups, and help them expand their palate. Okay. Number three, avoid food as a reward or punishment. Using food to control behavior can cause unhealthy and somewhat kind of emotional connections with eating. And number four, encourage listening to hunger cues. Teach kids to recognize when they're truly hungry and when they're full, rather than eating out of habit or pressure. Number five, lead by example. Make sure whatever we're telling our kids to do, that we're doing the same thing. Children are likely to make more healthier choices when they see parents making healthier choices. And I even see that even as adults with my adult children. Since I've been on this GLP-1 journey, I notice that when I eat certain things, or the foods that I choose to buy and eat, they'll eat it. They'll eat it. Number one, because they broke and they don't want to go buy food out in the street. So they'll sit here and just eat whatever it is that I cook. And get your kids involved in the cooking process, making sure that they're helping you prepare your foods. And that's real cool, because then you're teaching them, they're in the kitchen and you're teaching them how to prepare healthy food choices. And of course, that limits our processed foods and soft drinks and things like that. Even be careful with these juices, because certain juices are just not really good for them. So making sure that you're getting better meals, and also keeping your treats in moderation. That's huge. So a kid doesn't have to have a treat every day, right? Treats are just what it is. It's treats. Think about Halloween. Trick or treat. We only get treats that one day out of the year. So I know it's hard because sometimes we like to snack some. Those are some of our old behaviors, of course. But if you're doing that, your kids are going to mimic exactly what they see you doing. So remember, just take your time. Just limit those processed foods and those sugary kind of drinks, okay? And then, of course, stick to your routine. Having consistent meal and snack times helps prevent extra hunger and, some of that extra eating that doesn't need to be done. My notes don't want me to be great. They keep falling on the floor. But that's pretty much what I wanted to bring to you tonight. So think about it. Are you raising a GLP-1 kid? If so, you can stop now. You can stop that process right now. You're taking care of you, so why don't you take care of your kids? We all need to do this. So we're sticking in here together and we're going to make it work. And I know you're going to practice some of these things that we shared on today, and drop in the chat how it's working for you. For those of you who have younger kids, for those of you who have grandkids, and I know it's kind of hard for the grandkids because you don't have them most of the time. You don't have them all of the time like their parents do. But at least when they come to you, let them see grandma and grandpa doing something really good for themselves. And teach them some of these behaviors, because some of these behaviors they can come back and teach their parents at home and say, this is what I ate over Nana's house or whatever, So I think it's cool, and I think it's a way. I wish I had this back then. I wish I'd known this information back then, but I'm glad I had a chance to reflect with you, and I'm glad you joined me today on BMBS, and I look to see you again soon. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll be together again soon. Bye.